Hello, my name is Genix. Basically, this is just gonna be like a more botched version of my first video explaining this podcast. So on this channel, so far is strictly gonna be for a podcast that I am creating. And just a short explanation. The podcast is meant for helping people, of all types, like just anybody who needs to vent or wants to talk about their experiences in life. Just a way to give somebody a voice and put it out there. And the reason for that is because sometimes in life, talking to another person physically, like one-on-one, whether that be a counselor, family, whatever, it doesn't always help. And I should know that firsthand. So I feel like, now I don't know the outcome of this, but this is my plan. This is really just what I'm going for in the purposes of these videos, is to give people voices so that we can all talk to each other from around the world, wherever, like, because you could just be talking about what you're going through in your life, whether that be good or bad, or just experiences in certain things like workplaces or families, vacations, death, more serious subjects. And sometimes you still don't really know how to deal with those things, or maybe you want advice. Now, I will do my best to give advice as I'm talking to you, but that also gives the option of the viewers to comment on these videos to express their opinions as well about the situation and give their advice, or maybe say, hey, I'm going through the same thing as well, like consoling with each other, because I feel like people need to be a lot more connected when it comes to experiences in life. Emotions can be a terrible thing sometimes, and I know almost everybody has some sort of problem with their emotions, or just mentally they're struggling with something, especially around this time. Obviously, the last couple of years with the pandemic, there's been a lot to deal with. The government, the gas prices, you name it. Now, one thing though is I will not talk about political things on here unless the outcome of something that has happened in the government, let's say, has affected you personally. I do not mind talking about that, as long as we're just talking about what we're doing to help, or maybe asking for solutions to their problems. Now, I'm going to be making a second video introducing this podcast. This is just a kind of one-off botched version because I just had something that I really wanted to talk about. And this will also give you like an insight of how the topics are going, and like giving you my personal view of my experiences. So basically, or I should say originally, the first topic I was going to talk about was workplaces and like management and how things are going. But in light of circumstance, Mother's Day is coming up, and I wanted to talk about how we deal with certain holidays like this when a parent or child or someone very important to you passes away in your life almost recently. Now, my experience, I'll just go right out and start talking about it. Now, I don't really have advice. This is more of me just talking about what I'm going through, and again, explaining the podcast. So if you're still watching at this point, I apologize. This is very just kind of spur of the moment kind of stuff. I'm honest, obviously in my car. I'm tired. I look like crap today. Whatever. I'll get it set up as soon as I can and actually make a more professional looking video to more introduce and have a better introduction to my plan for these videos. So to start off my topic right now, it's going to be about death in general, like experiencing it and what type of things I see wrong with the entire situation of dealing with it. Now, obviously nobody can really prepare for something like that in the end. When it happens, you're not. You can never prepare enough for it, especially if it's all of a sudden. But Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday, and this has been one of the hardest times in my life. And I'm struggling really bad with it. My mom passed away back in November, and I have really just been having a hard time. And one of the feelings that I'm feeling the most lately is neglect and just being extremely lonely, feeling no matter how many people are around me or how many people try to cheer me up or try to fix things, which obviously you can't fix that. But other than losing her, I have now started taking care of my sister, who is the same age as my daughter. They're 7 and 8 years old. And my dad and her dad are not the same, but my dad passed away before I was born, and her dad isn't in her life. So neither of us have a father figure. The only father figure I've ever had in my life really is my grandpa, which he passed away 4 years ago. And now I really don't have a whole lot of immediate family left. It's my grandma and my aunt as far as role models, I guess. People really extremely close to me. But I wanted to talk about the beginning of it, like the very first-hand experience that you ever have with death. And I'm not just talking about being young and going to a funeral after somebody passes away in your family. I'm talking about firsthand watching someone pass away. I know a few people who have dealt with that as well, especially at a young age like I was. I was about beginning of middle school age, and my great-grandpa was, he was 94 when he passed. Great man. Great big, tall man. Bless his heart. He was the kindest. But he was 94. He lived his entire life. Like, he made it. It was definitely his time to go. And that happens. But as an adult, you understand that more. As a kid, you don't. Especially, my experience with that was I was the last one to hold his hand as he passed. And I literally, trigger warning, I literally watched the life leave from his body, from his eyes specifically. Now, as a kid, when something traumatic happens to you, you are kind of inclined to expect a parent or family member to try and console you in a situation like that, because you're terrified. You don't know what the hell's going on. You don't know how to feel. You're just lost. I didn't get that luxury. of having somebody console me. In fact, even after the fact, no one ever asked me if I was ever okay about it. But he passed in my hand, and I ran out of he was in the nursing home when it happened, so I ran out in the hallway and sat down and cried on the floor. And not only did my family not console me or hug me or anything at all, the nurses, like the adults around me, did nothing, absolutely nothing to try and help me. And I know and I understand at this age, like, that's a traumatic event for everybody. But as an adult, you've already dealt with death. So you have more experience in learning how to control your emotions and learning how to understand it better. So you would think about the kids. I mean, in some situations you don't, especially when it's so sudden, but this was a situation where we already knew it was going to happen. I didn't. But I feel like, as a parent myself, we really should be there more for your kids. I don't care if you're working. I don't care if you're the busiest person ever. My mom, when I was younger, worked 3 jobs and was still going to college at the same time. Didn't spend a whole lot of time with me. I grew up really young, honestly. A lot of things happened in my life, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just here to talk about the death part. Like I said, though, my grandfather was the only father figure I had in my life, and he passed away 4 years ago, and he taught me how to work on cars and all this other stuff, the real dad stuff. Plus, I was a tomboy, so I think he enjoyed having a more boyish granddaughter to teach about things like that. But going back to my mom, it was very sudden. She was only 49. And not only, I don't really want to talk about how it happened. I'm just going to tell you that I found her. It was sudden in her sleep. But my sister was alone with her at the time. She's 7 years old, just turned 8. That's traumatic. Now, because I didn't grow up with all the deaths in my family, having anybody really console me about any of it, I really tried to do it on my own. And like I said, the purpose of this podcast, it does not always help everybody to go talk to a counselor, to take medication. It's different for everybody. But I am constantly told in situations like this, why don't you go talk to somebody? Why don't you look into getting this medication? It helped me. Anxiety, depression, blah, blah, blah. That's fine and dandy for you, but that doesn't mean it's gonna work for me. Doesn't mean I didn't try. I just don't feel like it helps me. Like, currently, I've been on an anxiety medication that hurt my stomach really bad, and I'm gonna get it switched. Didn't help me at all. Not the first time I've taken something like that where it just made me sick. So, basically, what I'm saying is, this podcast is more of a other option to people to express their feelings and try and cope with things. Even if I can't give you advice, there's other people that can give you advice, or other people that can try and relate with you and tell you, this is what I did. It might not work for you, but try it, And I'm good to try anything, really. But I get really sick and tired of hearing the same thing. It's like a broken record. And one of the things, I've had people ask me to is, Now, I used to drink, but I drank socially, like, as an enjoyment, going to parties and stuff, as through my early 20s. If you know what this is, like, a lean-on. So, like, a lot of people have different coping mechanisms with stuff, and some people have something called a lean-on. At least that's what I call it. And that could be drinking, even if it's just going to the bar and have a drink with buddies, or drugs. Now, me, I smoke cigarettes. Obviously, that's an addiction, but I don't get addicted to anything else. If I don't enjoy it, I don't enjoy it. I used to drink a lot more. I'm not talking about a lot. Just I used to drink more socially, enjoy myself, hang out with people. Even if I didn't want to be around people, having a couple beers or something was fine for me. It helped for the time being. But at this point in my life, the last 2 years, a lot of things have happened. And I can't just go and do those things to relax like other people can. The one thing I can't quit is smoking, though. So basically, yeah, I don't have one of those things. And the only thing that really did help was calling my mom. And like I said, she's not there. I can't just call her and say, Mom, I'm really upset about this situation. What can I do? Or, I'm really upset about this situation. Tell me about your day. So, basically, like I said, everybody experiences death differently at different ages. And I feel like if you're a parent or you're around younger siblings or whatever, I feel like you should do your best when things do happen is to try and console them and let them know that you're there for them. Even if you don't have anybody there for you, to be that bigger person and say, hey, I know things are really fucked up right now, and I'm not sure what to do myself, but I'm here. Like, even if it's just for a hug, and you both know things are messed up, and things aren't really going to get much better anytime soon, but having that comfort of another human being is really healing. And right now, I don't really have a person to console me during this time. So I'm doing this podcast to help other people because that makes me happy. And I'm hoping this can help a lot of other people with their situations. Even if they can't get advice off of this, at least they have the comfort of telling people, like, hey, this is what's going on in my life, and I hate it. Or even if it's a good thing, like, hey, I just got a promotion at my job, and this is how I'm feeling about it. And it's not a gloating thing, like, I don't want this to be like, oh, other people have it worse, because I hear that a lot. Everybody deals with certain situations in their own way because of the experiences they had, because of things that they dealt with in their life. Like me, I grew up really young, and I've had to learn a lot on my own, and it's just how I figured out how to deal with certain things. But again, I don't know everything, so I'm still struggling at this point. And I'm doing my best to start this project and get my voice out there, as well as trying to get other people's voices out there. And I really hope this helps. So if you watch this entire video, I appreciate it. I'm not really worried about this first video being super viral because it's just a kind of one-off. But the next video will be 10 times better, I hope. And if you have any suggestions for topics in the future, let me know in the comments. And again, I appreciate your time in listening to me, and my experiences. If you want to talk about something yourself, let me know. Even if you don't want to talk on here, you can tell me your story and I will say it for you. Because sometimes that helps too. But thanks a lot. And I'm Gen X, signing off.